Hello. I recently had an evening at the Jersey Opera House, and you might think, well, what's the significance of that? Well, it's been closed for 6 years, so it was the first time that I had been back, and also some other people as well. I got tickets to see Talon, who are a visiting tribute band to the Eagles. They're very popular here in Jersey, and their shows usually sell out. In fact, on this visit, they did two shows back to back. Um, and I enjoyed the experience. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Talon because they are touring, and it may well be that you could actually go and see them. So this is the Busy Being Fabulous tour, and they play a lot of the Eagles songs that you would expect to hear, and also some that I didn't expect to hear. Particular highlights were seeing how they play Hotel California on a twin-necked guitar. That was absolutely fascinating. I mean, I don't know too much about guitars, but it fascinates somebody like me to actually see how it's played. And Talon are particularly good. They make the music sound like it sounds on the recording. So they're obviously very accurate in what they do, but not stilted. And then there were various Eagles tracks from different albums, like Hell Freezes Over and things like that, not just the best known ones. So there was something for people who have been following Talon and who are really like the Eagles. But they also included some solo works. It was rather nice to hear Don Henley's Boys of Summer. Enjoyed that. Anyway, now on to the Opera House. Now, I didn't bother getting permission to film at the Opera House or anything like that. I just didn't want to get that kind of hassle. So I'm just going to show you a photograph of what the front of the Jersey Opera House looks like. Now, this building is our only large theatre in the island. It seats 652 people on 3 levels. You've got the stalls, the dress circle and the circle. And we were in the dress circle, the middle level. And the whole of it has undergone a refurbishment and a redecoration, including the exterior. And this has taken quite a number of years. It closed down in 2020 on government orders because of the COVID pandemic, rather sudden like so many places. And it was hoped that it would reopen perhaps the following year and the year after. And then it transpired that in fact there was a lot of work required to actually make it usable again. And so from 2020 until late 2025, the doors have remained closed, and literally nobody other than contractors or people who work there have been able to go inside. So this was my very first look inside. And been watching the outside, and I have to say the exterior paintwork is really rather beautiful. This is an Edwardian opera house built in 1922, and it's got a particular sort of French flourish in the styling of it. And the interior was, the last time I went, a deep red with lots of gold finishes. Very cosy, very welcoming, very traditional. Anyway, in we go to see the Talon Eagles, and I knew that the exterior had been changed quite dramatically. And we have seats that have exposed wood, sort of light kind of wood, quite modernist. And we have very pale blue cushions. And lots of the paintwork is pale blue and sort of pale gold. The curtains on the stage are no longer red, they're a dark blue. And what's the effect of this? Well, I'm going to tell you from the point of view of me as an artist. I don't find it cosy and welcoming. Okay, it's already kind of cosy because it only holds 652 people, but it doesn't have that cozy kind of warmth. Instead, it's got a kind of freshness about it, which is good. I mean, obviously wanted a fresh new look, but if the temperature were cold, and I have known occasions when I have been there and it has been cold, Psychologically, it will feel even colder because of the cold blue everywhere. It's also quite interesting, having had a look at Talon's Facebook page. So I just put them back up again so that you can just reference them. If you look at Talon Music on Facebook, they have some photographs which they took of themselves preparing on stage with the opera house in front of them. So this is the on-stage view looking out to where the audience would be. And there are also some photographs of the audience taken a bit later on. And it's quite interesting the effect that this light blue produces. It just looks completely washed out. No colour at all. It looks as if it's a sort of neutral sort of cream colour. Now, I had already wondered how this would be, because this is where kind of the art comes in. Dark colours absorb light. Light colours reflect light. Now, if you were setting up a stage in an auditorium where you wanted artificial light to light the stage and not the audience, what would you do? Would you make all the areas around the audience lighter or darker? Let's think about that for a moment. So spotlights and things from the stage, light bounces into the audience and into the structure of the opera house. If it's painted a light blue, that light's going to bounce back again. If it's painted as a more traditional colour, like a dark red, as it was previously, or a kind of plum coloured royal purple, which I've seen in many theatres, or a dark navy blue or royal blue, or even a very dark green, those colours are all going to absorb the light. We've got an unusual lighting situation in Jersey. I know people often criticise theatres for the sound. I have to say that I found the sound for the Talon Eagles was perfect. I mean, I know the music really well because I listened to all the Eagles records. So I was comparing it to that, and I didn't find any problem myself as a non-musician. But I do see an issue visually. And I think it's going to be very interesting for lighting people, how they cope with having a very light auditorium when most of them, when they're touring, are used to finding dark to mid-toned auditoriums. Be really interesting if in comments anybody works in lighting in a theatre, or anybody has experience of going to a theatre and seeing this for themselves as a customer, to make a comment. It's something I'm really interested in. So obviously it's my local big theatre, 652 seats, I know, but this island is really small. We're only 9 miles long, east to west, by about 5 miles south to north, with a population of around about 110,000. So everything is rather miniaturised here. So 652 is our big theatre. But our big theatre is rather different to how it was before. But you know what? I'm just glad that we actually have the theatre again, that we've got the option of going. And I'm going to be having a look through their booklet and seeing what else I might book. I'm sure there's something else I can find. It will give me an evening out without needing to fly off the island. So thank you, Jersey Opera House, for reopening. It's a really welcome addition to cultural life in Jersey.